This is the Breakfast Club on 938 Live. We are putting caregivers front and center this morning on the Breakfast Club. We are talking this morning about the Model Caregiver Awards. It started off in 2007. Now 40 exemplary family caregivers from all walks of life were recognized at the 2017 Model Caregiver Awards presentation ceremony on Saturday. We're going to speak with two of them this morning. One began this journey at the age of 14, the other at 24. We're going to get their respective stories from Ang Beng Hui and Eric Lim. This year's, two of this year's recipients of the Model Caregiver Award. But we're also joined by a very old friend, Manmohan Singh. He is the man behind all these caregivers and putting the awards in place. Mohan is from AWA. Mohan, you want to put the Model Caregivers Award in perspective for us? First and foremost, a very good morning and welcome into the program.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Keith, for celebrating and championing the cause of caregivers with, the rest of us in the community.
Primarily, I have selfish intentions. Sooner or later, it's going to fall on me as well.
Exactly. I think that's the right perspective to take,
Yes.
because every one of us will undertake this journey.
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to be cared for, or you will be caring for your loved ones, whether they are seniors or your spouse or your children.
Right.
And so when we started this, I think AWA, since our inception in 1970 when the agency was formed, has worked with, in the senior and healthcare space, as well as the disability support, as well as education for people with special needs. So we saw a lot of caregivers and, so in a sense, in 2006, the AWA Caregiver Service was first set up. It was then called the Centre for Caregivers.
Right.
And so right after we were set up, the year after, we already started this award. And it's been going on. It was initially held as on an annual basis. And since about 2013, it has become a biennial affair. And basically, this time, the special thing is we've brought in, we noticed that there is an increasing prevalence of male caregivers, where the majority of caregivers are generally female. 76% or more sometimes are female, and they are the caregiver is normally known as the hidden patient. Indeed. Or the invisible
because they take on all this stress inside and there's no outlet.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Yes. So we started off with the individual and family awards in the early days.
Right.
And in 2012, we introduced the Model Caregiving Domestic Helper Award because I think many of us in our families rely on these domestic helpers who do wonderful work.
Right.
And then in the last edition in 2015, we introduced the Model Young Caregiver Award because there are lots of young people caring. And we also introduced the Pioneer Award for people above 65 because with longevity and, in our society, people are living till their 90s. So you find there are lots of seniors caring for seniors. And just before you start to talk to these two gentlemen, I want to point out that the two Pioneer Caregiver, the main awards, the Model as well as the Merit Award, were also two gentlemen somehow, and one is cancer-stricken himself, goes for his treatments, but is still dedicated to caring for his wife, wholeheartedly.
Sure. So, is it, when you talk about male caregivers, we were always told that women seem to have will outlive men. Is that in your field of caregiving? Is that perhaps going against the grain these days? More males caring for either their parents or their loved ones?
I think that is, women outliving men is it's a firm statistic. So I think, but I suppose there are unique cases where, where when someone is stricken by cancer and the husband outlives the wife and, or brothers outlive sisters.
Mohan, of course, is the director of AWA Caregiver Service, but we do want to talk about the two caregivers in the house this morning, Ang Beng Hui and Eric Lim. Let's get Beng Hui's story first and foremost. Beng Hui, I understand you started your caregiving journey very young, looking after your mother at the age of 14.
Yes,
Could you tell us a little bit more, please?
Good morning, everybody. Since when I young, from age of 4, my mom suffered from sleeplessness. And when I reached age of 7, my dad understudy, and he teach me how to take care of my mom.
So basically, you started at the age of seven rather than 14.
Yeah,
Or
7.
full-time caregiving at 14.
Age of 7 is I understudy for my
Okay,
dad.
sure.
When I reach matured, right, to 14, right, I totally will handle all his medication, follow up the clinic appointment, this and that, and also his daily food.
Sure. And this is for your father as well as caring for your mother.
Yes,
you were
correct.
caring for 2 people.
Yeah.
To say that it was a strain could be understating the fact. Did you have to perhaps, when you reached the age of 18, you had to go to national service. How did you cope with all this extra work at home?
And also a kind of blessing that every time when I meet people, right, usually I will explain to one of my when I enlist, I explain to my officer. They really very understand me, and as when the time there's I got having a problem, right, they really release me out, go and settle my mom case.
Am I right to say that you were the only child in the family, Beng Hui?
Only son, but have 2 siblings.
Okay. And you took on the role of primary caregiver from the start?
Yes, correct.
My hat's off to you as well. Let's speak with Eric. Eric, you started at 24. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. So I'm Eric, and yes, I started my caregiving journey when I was 24. That was the time that I was in my final year in university.
Right.
And that was a time when also my dad first got diagnosed with a stroke.
Right.
And subsequently, he suffered 2 more strokes, and eventually, currently, he has vascular dementia. So it has been very challenging journey for me because that's a time that, I'm still young,
Okay.
and doing my studies. So it came as a shock to me initially. But I guess as the years passed, I began to accept. And also, I realized that it has been a very rewarding journey for me so far to be able to have this opportunity to care for my dad. Yeah.
Again, kudos to you. But when you were nominated for the Model Caregiver Awards, were you surprised at all?
Yes, I was. I
Why?
was stunned. Yeah, because I didn't expect it. Yeah, I didn't realize that I would be nominated, because I think this is a duty that I would like to do for my dad because he has raised me up and really spent all his savings to educate me, to put me through university.
So you looked at it as duty. Did you look at it as duty as well? Because you started very much earlier, Beng Hui, than Eric did, almost at the age of 7. I have to ask, did you feel resentful at that age at all?
No, because as a son, right, as a duty of the son, right, I need to take care of my mom. But since when I grew up, I don't have mother love.
Sure.
And also,
So you had to be father, mother, parent to your mother as well as to your father.
yes. Regarding my mom suffer from the illness since when I was young.
Sure.
And I also face a lot of difficulty issue. I always tell my dad, say that why my mom happened.
Sure.
My dad also cannot answer to me this type of question.
For the sake of our audience, your mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Yes.
And she's still currently under medication.
Yes, correct.
And what's the day in the life of being a caregiver, Beng Hui, in this day and age, and now actually?
Usually, I always told myself as a caregiver, right, I always tell I will not give up and also be strong, because due to I'm a family of the leading of the house.
Sure.
I also every time when I encounter that problem issue, I need to solve it fast.
Sure.
This one is not a day. Usually it take about a few days to solve the problems.
When we talk about caregiving, and people think that caregivers are totally in the situation, they don't work. How are you managing financially? Because that is a very big question that people ask. How do you cope, sir?
I like to thank IMH because they really help me a lot. They give me a lot of advice and financial support. And also like to take opportunity to thank all the doctor and nurse and also teams also. They really give me a lot of ideas and support me for my mom mental illness.
So there is help out there. Eric, did you have to tap on perhaps external aid as well, financial or otherwise?
I think yes, definitely. Because initially when it started out, it was very difficult. We were not aware of what was available. But there are agencies who come forward. For example, AWA. I was aware of there's this daycare for dementia in Ang Mo Kio.
Right.
And that was very helpful for a period of time that my dad was still able to sit up in his wheelchair. And he could participate in the activities, but as his condition kind of worsened, where it's more difficult for him to sit, then we had to explore other alternatives. For example, the Alzheimer's Disease Association, ADA.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I was quite thankful for the staff from ADA, Aile. She kind of arranged this elder sitter program. And she came down to interact with my dad.
Sure.
And I think that was a very meaningful experience for my dad as well as for my helper as well.
We're speaking this morning with caregivers Ang Beng Hui and Eric Lim. They are recipients of the 2017 Model Caregiver Awards. We're also speaking with Mohan Singh. He is the director of AWA's Caregiver Service. When we come back, we will find out from Mohan again. Cannot be said too lightly that there is help out there should you need it. And we're going to find out how AWA can help you along this caregiving journey. But talking about finances, we need to pay some bills right here on 938 Live. We will be back in 2 minutes talking this morning with recipients of 2017's Model Caregiver Awards, which is organized by AWA. You're listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Live. I'm Keith D'Souza. We will be back in 2 minutes.
938 Live gets you talking.
The LTA traffic news on 938 Live.
Let's go to the roads first, 6255-8400, and check out what's happening on the roads right now at 47 minutes past 5 p.m. On Tuas Checkpoint, both directions are seeing heavy traffic. Woodlands Checkpoint also seeing heavy traffic in both directions. We're seeing slow-moving traffic too on the PIE towards Tuas between Paya Lebar Road and the KPE exit. Anthony Hong, thank you so much for calling in a vehicle that's broken down on Upper Cross Street. That's towards Havelock Road in the right lane before the junction of New Bridge Road.
Here's a message from the LTA.
Look forward to the new Nickel Underpass at the junction of Nickel Highway and Simsway from 2nd April, Sunday, 6 a.m. It will provide a direct connection from KPE and Simsway to Nickel Highway or Stadium Drive, the existing access along Nickel Highway to Stadium Drive, and the right turn from Simsway to Nickel Highway will be closed. Do follow the signage on site. For more information, visit www.lta.gov.sg.
A quick reminder of the top stories this hour. A Taiwan court finds former President Ma Ying-jeou not guilty in a political leaks case. And back home, the AVA says there'll be stricter licensing rules for pet shops and farms from April. Back to the Breakfast Club.
We're back into the Breakfast Club on 938 Live, talking about caregivers and, in particular, recipients of 2017's Model Caregiver Awards. We are speaking with two caregivers this morning. Ang Beng Hui, who is a caregiver for his mother, as well as Eric Lim. Eric started his journey at the age of 24, and he is a caregiver of his father. He's also in the caregiving or healthcare profession. We're also speaking with Mohan Singh. Mohan is the director of AWA's Caregiver Service. Mohan, we'll start the ball off with you once again. We were talking about accessing help. Are people more aware that there is help out there?
I hope they are, because I think a lot of agencies, especially for example, in the senior space, there's the Agency for Integrated Care. They have a website, aic.sg, where you can find all the senior care, types of care that you can get off that website. over and above that, on the disability side, there's SG Enable.
Sure.
They're the sort of umbrella organization looking into all those issues. And then VWs like us, AWA, we all have our info and referral services, or where you can call in and we can give you advice. And of course, we have our online fronts.
Sure.
So specific to this Caregiver Awards and caregiving,
in general,
there is a caregiver-awards.sg website where all the videos and stories of people like Eric and Alex Tan, Bing Hui, they are all they will be put up. So we also put it up onto our Facebook page. So all the pictures as well as the stories will be out there. So the reasons why these stories are important is because it is important for young people, like,
and they are
these two
very young,
gentlemen,
yes,
to become advocates for the cause and share their story. So, for example, Bing Hui is also very active in with SAMH and IMH,
Sure.
where he shares with fellow caregivers. And tomorrow, I think he's being invited to speak to professionals as well.
Wow.
So, when we go to medical establishments, we look at experts. I think one thing we must also realize is the caregiver is the expert insofar as his family member is concerned.
Okay.
And Eric, for example, in his day job,
okay,
he works.
He's also in healthcare profession as well.
Yes,
He's worked for the Brahm Centre.
He works, yes. And
Yes.
so he's also he lives his life is full of caregiving tips, and he practices mindfulness and he trains in that area. So I suppose sometimes what you do at home becomes you, and you become an advocate and a champion for the cause. I just wanted to say that we do run workshops,
Sure.
and if you go to our websites, you can go and check them out. There's a big workshop in July coming up. We call it okay, never mind.
Yes.
Please go on.
If you want to connect with AY, you can go to their Facebook page, facebook.com/caregiver service. But let's turn the attention to Beng Hui again. Beng Hui and Eric, this is the same question I'd like to ask both of you. It can be a stressful job. Yours could be because you deal with caregiving at work as well as at home, Eric. But Beng Hui, caring for a person with schizophrenia, having mental disabilities, how difficult is that, and how do you really stress it?
Okay, usually when I stress, right, usually I will do some sport activities to cope my stress down.
Right.
And also when I face, especially
Difficult
with my mom and my dad, because my dad also suffer from sickness.
Right.
Since throughout 10 years. Then I face a lot of challenges because I need to take care of my mom, I need to take care of my dad, I need to take care of my work, also my part-time study.
Sure.
It's really very experienced and also very challenging throughout my whole journey life.
Sure. So, but have you perhaps made peace with this job that you have?
Yes, because some of my colleagues and bosses, right, they really understanding
Sure.
my situation. And times go by, right, usually there's a problem, right, usually I will talk to my superior.
Eric, in your case, we've always been told that stress relief is quite necessary, especially when it comes to caregiving. There needs to be an outlet. What is your outlet?
I guess for myself, a little bit special would be I would practice to bring my mind back into the present. Because sometimes when doing caregiving, it can be very stressful when you start to worry about the future, not knowing about what happened to my dad and all the uncertainties. So I find that being in my line of work at Brahm Centre, practicing mindfulness of just stop and breathe, will help myself to regain some form of composure.
Sure.
And being fully present for my dad.
So work is stress relief.
Yes, I would say, yeah, because and this is something that I like to share with all the caregivers out there.
Sure.
Is that whenever you find that you're stressed, just take that moment to stop and breathe. And because that one breath can really help in the next few minutes.
Do you have peer support? Like, people have this group where you vent with each other, and perhaps that's what we're told these days. If you have minds who have similar experiences, not totally similar, but caregiving experiences, do you have a support group where you can vent?
Yeah, I think definitely so. And I believe that AWA, has such a service, and
Sure.
it's very useful for caregivers to come together and share similar experience together.
Let's ask Mohan about peer support and perhaps these group sessions.
Yes, I think, again, the value of people sharing with each other, because I said just now about the fact that you are an expert in your own person's role.
Right.
And I think nothing speaks to another caregiver like someone else who has walked the same journey. So I think for Beng Hui, for example, if you are a caregiver who's also, has a relative who's got schizophrenia, let's say, that complexity of what schizophrenia is, and the different kinds of behaviors and how you learn to manage them, and then model the right behaviors as well as how you ensure compliance for medication and so forth. All those lessons, and as well as knowing the resources in the community, all that stuff, those tips, coming from someone who has walked the journey is immeasurable. So similarly for special needs and disability, and even conditions that you never imagined, because dementia, you have to walk it to know it.
And to take care of someone who might not even remember what you have done for them, that must be, in my opinion, the most difficult thing you can ever go through. Beng Hui, in the moment that we have left, how difficult is it to manage your mother's condition and keeping her up to date with medication?
Usually, I will hire a domestic worker to help my stress load, because due to I also working as an office hour.
Right.
Then I also got train my maid my skill to teach my domestic helper.
Sure.
For all the medication, his daily food and his routine.
Right. Eric, again, in the moments that we have left, caring for someone who might not even recognize or appreciate what you're doing, how difficult is that? I know it's a very loaded question that I'm asking you, but I could be caring for someone who has no clue what I'm doing for them, or who even I am.
I think it's important to recognize that what my dad is suffering is an illness,
right?
And that he cannot help it, that he's suffering from it. So once you're able to understand the illness and what it brings with, you're able to better bring your presence, in every single moment that you still have left, with my dad.
Right.
And I think that's the beautiful part of it.
And that is the rewarding part of it.
Yes.
I wish we really, really had more time. We were getting a sneak peek into a life of two model caregivers. They were also recipients of the Model Caregiver Awards 2017, was organized by AWA. We were joined this morning by Beng Hui, who was caring for his mother suffering from schizophrenia. We were joined by Eric Lim. His father is diagnosed with vascular dementia. And we were joined by the man behind it all, rather not behind the conditions, but the caregivers at AWA. Mohan Singh, he's the director of AWA's Caregivers Service. Mohan, Beng Hui, and Eric, thank you so much for making the time and being so open and sharing your experiences with us. We wish you all the best of luck. If we can get in on and trying to help you in any way, Mohan, you know the number to call.
Thank you, Keith.
You've been listening to The Breakfast Club on 938 Live. I'm Keith D'Souza.
The news and more on 938 Live.